Hello everybody, Assalamu alaikum. Let's continue with our syllabus. Okay, so this is from paper 1, um, chapter 3 to 7. So we'll be starting demand. So demand is the amount of goods that will be bought at a given price over a period of time. Okay. So now think about your favorite food. Mm, so if the price of your favorite food increases, then unfortunately we buy less, right? But when the price falls, we tend to buy more, right? So there is an inverse relationship between the price and demand. Okay, whenever the price increases, demand falls, and whenever price reduces, demand rises. Okay, and some characteristics are mentioned here that this is basically a desire to buy the goods, but it's also backed by the purchasing power, and it depends on the market prices. It's not fixed; it changes according to the market prices. Okay. Um, so then next we have so you see the demand curve. Let me draw a demand curve here. Okay. See, it's very simple. Some people find it very complicated, but I think it's because of the lack of practice. Okay. So that's why I'm drawing in front of you and showing you that it's very simple. Okay. See that a fully complete demand curve. Okay, so see this demand curve is is sloping down from left to right. From left to right, it's sloping down. Okay, so it's a downward sloping curve. It shows the inverse or negative relationship between price and demand we just discussed. And when price goes up, demand will fall, and when price goes down, demand will rise. Okay, let me show you here. Mm, okay, suppose the price was P1 and at that time the demand was Q1. Okay, so if the price rises to P2, what will happen? Demand will fall to Q2. See, you can show it with the arrow, and price is rising from P1 to P2 and demand is falling from Q1 to Q2. Okay, so see, it's moving from one point to another. Okay, demand is basically moving from this point to this point, right? So there will be a movement along the demand curve, right? Okay, so this is the situation we are talking about. It's moving from one point to another. So the other name for this kind of change is movement along the demand curve, because within the same demand curve it's moving from one point to another. Okay. So that's why this is movement along the demand curve. And another thing is that there are other factors. See, other factor except price. So for when the price changes, there will be a movement along the demand curve. But when there will be change in the other factors, there will be shift. Okay. So next we will discuss about that. You see the non-price factor. This will lead to shift of the demand curve. Okay, so let's see. Uh, let's draw this shift. Mm, So when it shifts, it means that it's shifting to a total new demand curve. Okay, so suppose the demand was this much. Okay, it will shift to a totally new demand curve. See, it's increasing from D1 to D2. It's shifting to the right. Okay, so whenever there is a rightward shift, see, whenever there is a rightward shift, demand will increase, right? Okay, why? See, because it's going away from zero. Okay, say D1 is closer to 0 and D2 is away from 0. So that means away from 0 means what? It's increasing, right? The value or the output or the demand for goods and services is increasing. Okay, that's why it's shifting to the right. Okay. And the opposite thing may happen when there will be a shift to the left. Okay, that means demand will fall. This labeling is very important. Some people mm, forget to label it, so it's very important. Okay, so now suppose the demand was D1 and it's falling, so it's shifting leftwards. Okay, and shifting to D2. Okay, and one interesting thing about this shifting is what? The price will remain same. Okay, mm, at the same price this kind of change will be observed. Okay, because the other factors are changing. Okay, see, there's a leftward shift. Oops. Whenever there is leftward shift, we can say the demand is falling. Okay, now let's go through the factors we're talking about. Okay, so shift occurs when there is a change in the non-price factor. So these are the non-price factors which is linked to shift. Okay, the first one is income. Okay, so income, some people think that yeah, it's very similar to price, but it's not price. We are not talking about the price of the goods and services. We are talking about the income of the people, the consumers. Okay, so whenever the income will be increasing, what will happen to your favorite food? Okay, suppose your favorite food was pizza. Okay, so what will happen to demand for pizza? How much pizza you will take? Okay, it will increase, right? You will at the same price you will be having more pizza. Okay, so that means that your income is rising. As a result, your uh, yeah is rising. What demand for pizza will rise. Okay, so there will be a which one will be the diagram for this one? Yeah, this one, right? There will be a rightward shift. Okay, there will be a rightward shift of the demand curve because demand is increasing. At the same price, we are having more demand. Quantity demanded is increasing. Okay. And, okay, so this is the normal situation. So that's why this kind of situation is known as normal goods. Okay, this kind of goods are known as normal goods. Okay, for which demand rises as income rises. But there are some goods for which demand falls as income rises. Okay, can you think of something like this? Yes, these are inferior goods. Okay, so inferior goods, what happens? Demand rises if the income falls, and demand falls when income rises. Mm, okay, yeah, so yeah, these are inferior goods. Okay, so inferior goods are usually like these are low quality goods. Okay, what happens is when increases, we shift better quality goods. Instead of buying low quality goods, we shift a high quality goods. So demand for this high quality goods will increase, as these are normal goods, and the demand for low quality goods will usually fall. Okay, let's go through an example. Suppose public services. Okay, like bus, train. Okay, so if income rises, we may not travel to this public transport frequently, right? Because maybe we may switch to a private transport. Okay, so this is so public services will be known as an example of inferior goods. Okay, because when our income rises, we switch to a better quality services, goods and services. That is a transport, private transport maybe. Okay, next we have population. So when population increases, what happens to demand? Okay. Yes, again there will be right for cheap, right? Because there will be more people to purchase your goods and services, so demand will increase. Next we have advertising. Advertising, if advertising rises, usually it's successful advertising. Yeah, after a successful advertisement, you may suppose you're seeing advertisement of pizza everywhere. So what will happen? Naturally, the people will buy more pizza because it's everywhere, and it will pursue consumers to yeah, buy more pizza. Right? Next, we have interest rate. Interest rate is like this is the cost of borrowing money. So whenever interest rises, there will be a fall in demand. Okay. So yeah, this when interest rate rises, demand falls. Okay, because borrowing will become difficult. Okay. Next, we have taste and fashion. Taste and fashion is like think about the fashionable items. Okay, so what uh, how much demand is there for fashionable item or trendy items? It's high, right? So demand for a fashionable item is usually high. Okay, but think about out of fashion goods. Out of fashion goods are have what very low demand. Okay, the same goods, because of the taste and fashion, the demand is changing. Okay. Next, we have price of complementary goods. Okay, so complementary goods or complements. These are like goods that are used together. Usually, we cannot use them separately, so we use them together. Okay, so think about fuel and car. Okay, so without car we can what's the use of fuel, and without fuel we cannot use a car, right? So these are complementary, we need to buy them together. So if demand for car if price of fuel rises, then what will happen to the demand for car? Let me write it here. Suppose price of fuel. If price of fuel rises, what will happen to demand for car? Yeah, as we have to buy them together, what will happen? This rise in fuel price will reduce the demand. Okay, so there will be a leftward shift of the demand, right? Because maintaining a car will become expensive, so the demand will fall. Vice versa, the opposite thing will happen. To the situation if the price of fuel falls, demand for car will rise. And next we have substitute goods. So substitute goods are like alternatives. Mm, the price of the alternative goods, like think about mm, so for example, like these are like the goods that serve the same purpose. Okay, so think about tea and coffee. Okay, it depends on people or different civilization, many people may not consider tea and coffee as an alternative, maybe, or many people may not agree. But usually, this is the situation, right? Suppose tea and coffees are alternative; these are the same purpose. So, what will happen? Whenever there will be a rise in demand, the rise in the price. Suppose, let me show you an example. Suppose price of tea. So if price of tea increases, what will happen to the demand for tea? Demand for coffee. Okay, as coffee is a substitute, we have to think about what's happening to demand for coffee. Demand for coffee will rise. Right? Why? Because as price of tea is becoming expensive, so people may switch to another cheaper alternative. Okay, and if coffee is the alternative, then yeah, the people will switch to that. So demand for coffee will rise, and vice versa. If price of tea falls, demand for coffee will fall. Okay. Okay. Next, so these are the factors which are non-price factors, okay, which leads to a shift in the demand curve. And whenever price changes, there is a movement along the demand curve. Okay, so these are the these files are already available in the study notes section. Okay, so you can download it from there. Okay. So this was basically chapter 3 and 4 that we discussed today together. Okay. Now next we will start chapter 5, which is supply. So let me know if you're facing any problem with that, or we will discuss some more examples from this chapter. Okay. Okay. Let's discuss some more examples. Suppose if there is a situation like maybe the suppose immigration is increasing. Okay, lots of people are entering into your country. So at that time, what will happen to your demand for rice? See, so immigration will increase your population, right? It will increase your population. So what will happen? The demand will rise, right? As there will be more people to buy your product now. Okay, so demand will increase. Okay, so there will be a rightward shift, right? There will be a rightward shift. Okay, now let's think about income is rising, and at the same time, what's happening that demand for income is rising. So what will happen to the demand for the low quality food? Let's think about a low quality food. Maybe there's something called coarse rice. I'm not sure whether you know it. Okay, the coarse rice means it's like these rice are a little bit fat. Okay, a thick rice. Okay, so it's some people think that these are very hard to consume. Okay, as it's very fat. Okay, very thick. Okay, so but usually these rice are a bit cheaper. Okay. Also, and this is usually the poor people are what they usually consume this kind of rice. Okay. Okay. So what will happen if income rises? What will happen to the demand for rice? Okay. So see, we are talking about this one. Okay. So income is rising. Okay. And the good we are talking about is inferior. Okay, it's an inferior goods. Okay, so what will happen? Demand will fall, because as income rises, demand will fall, because those people who used to have this low quality rice, they will be switching to a better quality goods. So the demand for the better quality goods rice, those premium rice, those will increase, and this low quality rice will fall. Okay, and something about advertising maybe. Like if there is a advertisement like on health consciousness, like the government is maybe having this advertisement against sugar. Okay, because not in our country, but in many developed countries, you find that the government is spreading advertisement to discourage the consumption of sugar, because it's very unhealthy and people becomes obese, and this obesity will create problems like the healthcare treatment. These are becoming the people have to go through more expenditure because of this expenditure. The insurance company is suffering because people are suffering. The government may also have to pay a lot because of this health problems. Okay, so to solve this problem, government cannot directly interfere. So they are having a negative advertisement against sugar. So what will happen? Advertisement is there, but it's a negative advertisement. So what will happen? Yeah, demand for sugar will fall, right? So there will be a leftward shift. Okay. Then think about some old antique goods. Okay, once it was very famous, but now it has become very old, and it got out of trend. Okay, but maybe you already noticed that some of the goods they come back in the trend, right? Previously they were trendy, then they become out of fashion, then they are again becoming trendy. Okay, so for those goods, what will happen? Yes, demand will rise, right? Okay, so it doesn't remain same always. Okay, it continuously changes. Okay. Okay, next, interest rate. So interest rate is the cost of borrowing money. We already did an example based on that. Think about that, government is encouraging people to spend more. Okay, so at that time, what the government may do? They reduce or increase interest rate. What do you think? Yes, government will reduce interest rate. Okay, if the government reduces interest rate, what will happen? The cost of borrowing money will fall, and people will borrow more, and they will buy more. So the demand will increase. That means there will be a rightward shift. Okay, next we have complementary goods. We did the example of tea and fuel and car. And think about some more products. Suppose washing powder and washing machine. And if price of washing powder falls, then a demand for washing machine will increase. Okay. Vice versa. Then let's think about a example of substitute goods. Example of substitute goods can be like mm, Pepsi and Coca-Cola. Okay, very similar product. Okay, different brand. Okay, so demand for if the price of Pepsi, if price of Pepsi falls, then demand for Coca-Cola will fall. Why? Because these are alternatives, so people will switch between the products. Okay, and if there is a fall in the price in the Pepsi, then demand for Coca-Cola will fall. Okay, so these are what we have here. Okay, so we are not starting chapter 5 because this is a different topic, so we are not starting this chapter supply. Okay. Okay. Okay, so that's what we have from this chapter. So if you don't have any question, then I will uh, end the class today. Okay. So go through this topic. Let me know if you're facing any problem. Okay. Okay. Because this next chapter is about supply. It's a totally new topic. So you should go through all the activities in the book. Okay. This activity should be solved because there are lots of tricky questions over there. Okay. Okay. So, or if you think I can solve them in the class as well. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you, everybody. Okay. See you in the next class, inshallah.